Well, that's true. See, Chris, I'm curious to ask you, right? This is an older generation question that you would have more knowledge about. Not that you bowled in this era, but I'm curious. Okay.
Okay.
I remember Kirk von Kruger telling me that the reason why the players get fewer and fewer shots is because of the paranoid feeling that players would purposely try to ruin the integrity of the oil pattern or something like that. And I only experienced it once.
Japan.
Happened to me. Well, Mika took a 180 grit ball one time and decided on this longer oil pattern, we're all going to play 10. That's where we're going to play. And, and at the time, I remember thinking that was really smart, right? And I thought, why not, right? Like, he is the higher seed. He should have an advantage to me. Like, he should have an advantage. And if that means manipulating the lane pattern because he's knowledgeable how to do it, I never saw an issue with it. But Kirk didn't like it, right? They didn't like that was part of it.
Yeah, it wasn't players' paranoia. It was largely, there was a few people that complained about it, mostly anytime you lose. And then it became an issue for Kirk, and Kirk basically had the power to do something about it, which is how a lot of things happen.
Right.
And I think it started out with very good intentions, and it's gone to an ridiculous point. I mean, it's just so far over the top. Go on, Riley. You, my friend, I'm going to see you later on today. I'm going to take care of you. Yeah.
I think people misunderstand that it's not supposed to be fair between the first seed and the second seed. The first seed's supposed to have a significant advantage over the second seed. Yeah. Now,
you earned that.
One other thing that my theory is I think that we should bowl one shot at a time. So the top seed would bowl. Most people would want to go first. Mm-hmm. So you would just literally follow each other. I think.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that would create more drama because we speak about this all the time. If you throw a strike on the right lane, unless it's the 10th frame, you're going to be way more subdued because you've got to throw another shot in 30 seconds on the left lane. Mm-hmm. But if something cool happens on the right lane, you almost have to bring your energy down because you don't want to really celebrate that because you've got. But if you're only bowling one shot, and that's why we talk about the Weber Cup because it's on one lane, so you can only really do one shot. It creates a lot more emotion from the players because they know that they've got a couple of minutes before they're going to throw their next shot. So it's much easier to come down and be ready to go again. And I also like from a sport point of view that it's like blow for blow. You know what I mean? It's like I perform, you match. I make an error, you get to take advantage of it straight away. I don't like it. Like, for example, when Jacob, you threw a strike the first frame, he opened, and then immediately he's behind the 8 ball. But if he'd have opened the second frame and you'd have got up and doubled, then the match is almost over without anything really happening. Open versus a triple. I just think it's the drama is much more built up when it's just shot for shot. And also there's a huge advantage to the top seed going first every frame.
Yeah. You can put a lot of pressure on your opponent.
And it goes to your practice thing too. We were talking about the outliers. I mean, the seeds 2 and 3, I don't think Arturo was the only one that won a match at any 2 or 3 seed. They've limited practice so much. You get 2 shots on each pattern, and the other guy has a full game plus his practice on it. You're at such a disadvantage on multiple patterns going into that.
Yeah, I like the idea, Stu, of being able to select your lane and go first, and because when you are the higher seed. Oh yeah, because if you start strike, well, now your opponent has to get up straight away, and let's say he goes strike. Now you also double. Your opponent immediately feels I have to double with him. Like I have to go, otherwise I'm going to be behind in the match. If you go triple, that pressure is going to be, really felt on that third shot if the lower seed hasn't kept up the strikes. And I like it. I've always wondered in bowling why we bowl on 2 lanes. Like, I've never actually, I mean, I don't care, but I've never really understood why, why we do that. But I mean, like the Weber Cup is an example.
For the TV show, if you only bowled on 1 lane, it would be really difficult to keep the lane in play because
it blows up.
We only bowl 3 games at the Weber Cup, and even then, it's starting to get, and like, bearing in mind, on our side, half our games are bowled by Jesper.
Right. Yeah.
And even though it's a 5-man tournament, we still managed to find a way that Jesper bowls half the matches. So, like I say, I don't necessarily think it matters about it being the 1 lane. I just think that if it's just shot for shot, and you could almost both be on the same lane. Like, you could both start on the right lane and go right lane, left lane, right lane. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, that would be another top seed advantage. You could choose your lane and your opponent's lane to start. So, you don't have to finish the game first or second based on what lane. That's also, I think that's also a little bit rough too, because sometimes you're like, I really want to finish first. I want to put that pressure on my opponent going into the 10th, but
I don't like the right lane.
That's right. I don't like the way that the lanes are playing for me to do that. So I'm going to have to finish second.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just one of those little things that most people at home watching don't realize has any, like, they don't see that to be a major issue. But when you're in the middle of it, there is nothing hard. And I can say when I have finished second, that strike is harder to throw than when you get up in the 10th and you're the first one to either shut them out or put pressure. It's a harder shot. So if I'm the top seed, why wouldn't I want my opponent to have to suffer the harder shot?
I think there's lots of guys that are good in that spot, but I think across the board, a big majority would say, hey, I would rather put pressure on. And
well, look what happened to Russo.
Right. It would never happen if you finish first, in my opinion.
Was there a method strategy for when you took your re-racks during the matches? It looked like you were really trying to slow your pace down. It didn't really look like there was an issue with the pin setting.
No, the pins are on set. They look pretty good to me, actually. I mean, I don't really get bothered too much. I'm not, I know Anthony doesn't like it when the 6 pin is like 2 centimeters to the left or whatever, but I'm not too fussed about that. Usually the re-racks for me, it's to keep a pace for the match. And I like to use my re-racks. A lot of people are like, oh, you're trying to cool the other guy down. And that is a byproduct of it, but it's not. I don't press the re-rack button thinking I'm making it harder for him. I'm thinking I'm making it better for me. Like, I feel like I'm now in my timing, in my rhythm. I feel comfortable in the halfway. Usually it's the 5th and the 9th if I can. And it usually just allows me to just take that extra moment to be like, all right, we're not going to get too up. We're not going to get too low. We're just going to kind of keep it at that pace. And usually by the 9th, it's coming down to, most of the time it's a close match. Usually you've got to do something in the 9th and 10th. So I like to just reset the match in my head a little bit and allow me just to get up there and throw it. The only time I did re-rack early was against Cortez in the first match. I actually re-racked, I think, in the 3rd I think it was the 3rd frame, which is unusual. And I did that because I hadn't been that nervous bowling in 10 years. I really felt it. So I was like, man, I don't think I can wait to the 5th frame to slow down. Like, I can feel my heart really, really kicking. So I decided to take an earlier re-rack, and that was actually when I started striking. I think I went triple there, and then the match got ruled. Yeah, all those kids do, man. They just put their hand in the ball.
And I think it's an understated thing, and I always felt the same way. When I was making a lot of shows, and you go, oh, well, he makes a show all the time. Well, yeah, but we haven't bowled on tour in 6 months, or in your case, 9 months. So it's cool that you do make, 1 out of every 2 or 3 or whatever the shows are. But when you haven't done it for 8 or 9 months, it's I don't know where you recreate that feeling. Hard to do while you're at home practicing. And so, Now, you are, you bowled around the world. You bowled in lots of amateur tournaments and really short formats, and, where pace of play and all kinds of different things are in play. If you're bowling Sean, are you going to pull out any kind of gamesmanship, or, I mean, within the rules, obviously, but what if he starts it? Does he have to start it? Will you play if it gets moving, or Will you initiate something to kind of trigger him, or?
No, I mean, like, and we can go, we can go all the way back to, the bottle issue. Like, so many people, this is 10 years ago, whenever it was, and people still think that I had some intent in that. And, I say it now, and I said it back then. I used to drink. I still do. I still drink out of a water bottle in between shots. I just was unaware of when I was drinking, and what I was doing, because I was just thirsty. I wanted to calm myself down. Obviously, since that moment, you'll probably notice I don't really take a drink of anything, whether it's out of a glass or a plastic bottle, when someone's on the approach getting ready to bowl. But everyone seems to, and it makes me laugh a little bit, because like I said, even with the re-racks, everything I do is just for me. If you want to take that and think it's personal and that I'm trying to get into your head, well, I've done that because you've allowed it. And, your question was, will I do anything? I don't have to do anything. I don't. I can just turn up. And I'm already, I'm going to be comfortable is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be comfortable. And if it makes other people uncomfortable that I'm comfortable, then that's good for me,
What about Tom?
It's actually one of the,
Tommy,
but it's one of the
Sean.
reasons why. It's one of the reasons why, like, I appreciate our matches, Chris, because I actually think you're very much the same. I really don't think you're trying to get in anyone's head. I just think because of who you are, you're in people's heads when you bowl. And, I'm not talking just about on TV. I'm talking about anywhere where you meet up with someone in a match or a 3-game set and the Masters or something like that. And you can tell straight away when someone's living in someone's head rent free, because they're different when they're playing against that person. Sure. But the other person is the same. And you're like, it's like, you might as well just have a sign on your head that, you're having a hard time bowling this guy because he's in your head, and it's Norm's famous for it too. A lot of bowlers, maybe not so much these days, but a lot of bowlers used to think, and whether it was true or not is irrelevant, but the fact that Norm, would be able to just walk onto a set and all of a sudden people are like, oh, what mind games is he going to play? Is he going to do this? Is he going to take tape out of a ball over here? Is he going to... And immediately Norm has the advantage. Immediately, and that's why he's won 40 times and he's still bowling great now, is because he gives himself these little advantages against his opponents, mainly because they allow it. It's your fault. That's it.
There's things you can do when you're younger, and then after you get to a level, you don't have to do it. They make up the things that you do way better.